Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. Today we look at the thermodynamics of war, and what happens when the most energy inefficient species in the galaxy decides to redline its own metabolism. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, evolution tends to favor efficiency. Resources are scarce, and survival usually goes to the organism that can do the most with the least. The Aethelgardian Empire was the epitome of this principle. Evolving on a frigid world with an atmosphere almost devoid of oxygen, the Ethel were masters of conservation. Their physiology was a marvel of minimalist biology. Their heart rates were barely 5 beats per minute. They moved with a fluid, deliberate slowness, never wasting a single calorie, never expending an ounce of unnecessary energy. To move quickly on Aethelgard was a death sentence. It meant burning through your oxygen reserves faster than the thin air could replenish them, leading to immediate hypoxia and collapse. Their warfare reflected this biology. It was a slow, silent dance of precise energy blasts and methodical maneuvering. When the Aethelgardian legions surrounded the terrified human research outpost in the high-altitude Qualify Basin, High Lord Valerius looked down upon the human structures with disdain. To him, humans were grotesque engines of waste. They required enormous amounts of food, water, and most offensively, oxygen. They were constantly vibrating with unnecessary heat and movement. These creatures are biological wildfires, Valerius remarked to his subcommanders, his voice a low, efficient whisper over the comms. They burn through resources with reckless abandon. In this thin air, their metabolic furnaces will starve. We need only advance slowly, conserve our breath, and watch them gasp and wither as they try to fight back. Their panic will be their undoing. Valerius was a brilliant strategist of low-energy warfare. But he had absolutely no concept of human aerobic capacity, or the terrifying ingenuity of Terran combat engineering. He assumed the humans would try to ration the thin air. He did not realize that humans had no intention of breathing the planet's atmosphere at all. Inside the human perimeter, Sergeant Major Jax Turbo Reynolds was strapping on a piece of gear that looked less like life support and more like a bomb strapped to his back. It was the Mark IV metabolic overdrive system, affectionately known by the troops as the Ox Booster. It consisted of 2 reinforced carbon fiber tanks filled with pure, highly pressurized liquid oxygen, connected to a sealed combat helmet via thick, armored hoses. "All right, boys," Reynolds growled, his voice already sounding tight and wired as he pre-breathed the mix. "The space elves think this is a marathon. They think we're gonna pace ourselves. I want you to open your regulators all the way up. We're going full burn. Let's show them what a human looks like when we stop conserving and start consuming." The Aethelgardian attack began in silence. Their warriors emerged from the purple mist, moving with a slow, terrifying grace. Every step was calculated. Every movement of their staffs was precise. They were like statues coming to life, creeping toward the human lines, confident that any sudden movement from the defenders would lead to their suffocation. Then the human line erupted. It wasn't gunfire that broke the silence. It was the loud, aggressive hiss of high-pressure gas vents opening wide. Reynolds cracked the valve on his Ox Booster to maximum flow. A massive surge of pure, concentrated oxygen flooded his lungs. His physiology, evolved on a thick atmosphere death world, responded instantly. His heart rate skyrocketed from a resting 60 to 180 beats per minute. His blood became supersaturated with oxygen, delivering enormous amounts of fuel to his muscles in milliseconds. His vision sharpened to a razor's edge. The world around him seemed to slow down. To High Lord Valerius, watching from a distant ridge, what happened next looked like a glitch in reality. The human soldiers didn't stagger or gasp. They exploded forward. Reynolds cleared the defensive barricade in a single, massive leap that would have left an Ethel warrior unconscious from exertion. He hit the ground sprinting. Not a jog, not a run, but a full-tilt, Olympic-level sprint across the rocky, uneven terrain. "They are running," Valerius gasped, his efficient heart fluttering in shock. "They are sprinting in near-vacuum conditions. How are they not dead?" Their hearts should have burst. The Ethel warriors tried to react. They began the slow, deliberate process of raising their energy staffs to aim. But before their arms had moved even a few inches, Reynolds was already on top of them. To Reynolds, highly oxygenated and flooded with adrenaline, the aliens looked like they were moving underwater. He could see the slow twitch of their muscles, the gradual widening of their eyes in terror. He dodged a slow-moving energy bolt with almost contemptuous ease, stepping inside the alien's guard. Reynolds didn't use a high-tech weapon. He used a trench spade sharpened to a razor edge. He swung it with a speed and violence that was biologically impossible for the native lifeforms. The blow was a blur of motion, fueled by a metabolism running at 300% capacity. The battle became a massacre of time perception. The human soldiers, vibrating with raw energy, tore through the alien ranks like whirlwinds. They leaped over formations, flanked positions in seconds, and engaged in hand-to-hand combat at speeds the Ethel brain couldn't even process. Vents on the human suits hissed continuously, ejecting plumes of excess CO2 and heat, making them look like steam engines given flesh. "They are burning." Valerius screamed as his lines disintegrated. "They are burning their own bodies alive to move this fast. It is madness." Reynolds breached the final line of defense, stopping directly in front of the horrified High Lord. The human was breathing heavily, but it wasn't the gasp of suffocation. It was the deep, powerful cycling of a massive engine clearing its intake. His eyes were wide and bloodshot from the pressure, veins bulging on his neck, his entire body radiating heat in the freezing air. Reynolds tapped the side of his huge oxygen tank with his spade. "You guys are efficient, I'll give you that," Reynolds said, his voice sounding hyper-accelerated through his external speakers. "You sip the air. You conserve. Smart. But where I come from, we don't sip. We chug. And buddy, we brought the whole keg." The Aethelgardian forces surrendered within the hour. They hadn't been defeated by superior tactics or numbers. They had been defeated by raw metabolic output. They had faced a species that viewed their planet's lethal lack of air not as a limitation, but as an excuse to bring their own high-octane fuel supply. The Galactic Council's biological threat assessment for humanity was immediately updated with a new, terrifying classification regarding human respiration. Warning: do not engage humans in low-oxygen environments assuming they will be weakened. They are an aerobic species that possesses the technology to artificially supercharge their metabolism. When provided with concentrated oxygen, their speed, strength, and reaction times increase to levels deemed biologically unsustainable for standard lifeforms. They do not adapt to thin air, they simply bring the fire with them. Humanity had proven the ultimate metabolic HFY truth. Efficiency is for species that are afraid of running out of gas. We are the burners. We are the consumers. We would rather burn out in a blaze of glory and high-speed violence than fade away in a slow, efficient conservation of energy. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Breath deep. Run fast. If you enjoyed this high-octane victory of human biology, hit that like button. Comment below. What is the fastest you have ever run when you were scared or angry? Subscribe for the next front of the Apex Factor, the garbage mechanics. The tank is empty. The battle is won.